Okay, so we're back again, and Dr. Chris, Nikki, Dr. Otto, thanks for being here. Another scenario for you.
Okay.
I've been under the care of Physicians Weight Control and Wellness Centre for 6 months. First 3 months went terrifically well. I shed 15 pounds in 3 months. Felt great. I've been to see Nikki. I've altered my diet a bit and tried to bring in more nutritional food. And then I kind of figured, I've got it now. I'm under control of this, and come off the medication and decided to do it alone. And here I am at month 6, and regrettably I've put back on the 15 pounds plus 5. What have I done wrong? What went wrong?
Well, that's what we got to find out, because there can be a lot of different things that could have happened. And this is, unfortunately, this is a very common scenario. And it may not be 3 months, it may be 3 years. But at some point, what happens usually is some life change. You moved a house, you got a new job, went on an extended vacation. So your schedule changed, your daily routine changed. That's a big one. You can start out, use some of the medications, take some of Nikki's advice and make those changes and do really well, but then something happens in your life to disrupt that routine, and we tend to go back to our old habits. So it's a lifetime battle. It really is. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you when you come back in is, great to see you, welcome back. I don't want you to come in with shame. I'd never do that. I just explain, let's just, all we can do is start where we are, and let's get going again, and let's work on the things that were successful for you before. Let's get you back to those, and maybe do a few more things. Maybe it's another session with Nikki, or maybe we need to change the dosing a little bit of the medications, or there's a lot of things that we can do to help you get back to that. And then because it's your second go around and you maybe have learned that lesson of, I still need a little help, or I need a little accountability, we're going to kind of suggest that stick with us for a while. Even if you can't come in on a monthly basis over a certain stretch because you went on vacation or you're out of the country or something, that's fine. As soon as you come back in, let's see how you're doing. We're managing a disease, the disease of obesity. There is no cure for obesity at this point. They're working on it, but up to this point, we don't have a cure. So just like any other disease that we don't have a cure for, all we can do as physicians is to help partner with the patient to manage that disease. And that's the approach we're taking. We're managing it on a long-term basis. So that's the approach.
Okay, great. I recall in one of our last conversations, you mentioned the impact of thyroid problems on weight gain. Could you expand on that a little for me?
Well, now, not everybody has thyroid issues. That's sometimes you read or you Google it and you can kind of get the idea of, well, that's my problem. But there is a significant number of thyroid problems that people are walking around with that don't know they have. And so that's we will not do a lab on the initial visit that doesn't include a thyroid panel. And we look at it extensively. There's one particular test that's kind of a screening test, but we actually do a couple of more tests to look behind the scenes. And so in the case that you are one of the unfortunate patients who have that component of your difficulty with your weight management, we will treat the thyroid issue or problem to help in metabolism. Now, thyroid is the master gland in your body that directs your metabolism. Every cell in your body needs thyroid hormone for the motor part of the cell to work correctly. And so when you have a little bit less levels than you're supposed to have in your bloodstream, or your cells aren't receiving that from the bloodstream and using it into the cells, your cells in your body isn't functioning at peak capacity. So your metabolism is a little bit low. And that's where a lot of the symptoms come in of fatigue and weight gain and some of these things. And nutrition can play a large part in this. It was mentioned by Nikki that certain foods can make your thyroid a little more sluggish. There are other elements and other kinds of foods that have certain things in them that can perhaps help with the thyroid and wake it up a little bit. So
Seaweed.
exactly. So nutrition can be used as medicines as well. And so we'll look at that. We look at the thyroid. We look at anything that would have a major impact on your weight management. We're going to investigate and make sure we're not missing.
Okay, so how does nutrition impact my thyroid and how it works and its functions?
It can do a lot of different things. I'd need to look at your panel to see if you're hyper or hypo. Hyper means that it's sluggish, it's not producing enough hormones or to kickstart your metabolism, or it's producing too much and putting your metabolism in overdrive. Typically what you're seeing, most people are hypo, and everybody has a different range of what they look for. What is the typical?
When we look at the test that we use for thyroid is for short it's called TSH, but that's for us. What that means is they're measuring the levels of hormone in your blood that's floating around and what's available to the cells. So a hypothyroid individual or someone who has low levels of thyroid hormone in their bloodstream, the test that we look for, actually the numbers are out of range on the high side. It's counterintuitive. The range of normal thyroid levels is 0.3 to 4.2. There's depends on the lab, 4.2 to 4.5. And now those are what we consider the normal range. Now if you came in and your thyroid lab number was 4, well, a lot of folks would say, well, that's normal. And I would say it's within normal range, but it's not optimal.
Go for optimal.
Exactly. So if where you're going to feel better, where the hormone levels are going to do the most good for you, is if we can drive that number down to 1 or even below 1, closer to 0.3, 0.5. Yeah. So that's the idea. So in some cases, we wouldn't use medications. We would, if the numbers aren't really out of maybe in the middle of the road. That's where nutrition comes in, and we can optimize your nutrition to help the levels of thyroid hormone, which is going to make you feel better.
So
Right.
if it's hypo, you're staying away from raw broccolis and kale. You still eat it, but you're not eating it raw because the goitrogens in it can cause your thyroid to act sluggish. You're eating things like celery, and spinach is really good for it. Crazy amount of garlic. You drive off vampires, but garlic actually helps. You're eating turmeric, which is surprising. It helps with inflammation, which a lot of the times there could be underlying causes in your body that's causing your thyroid to act out of control, and inflammation can be one of them.
Hold on a second. So what you're actually saying here is, I understood that the food I ate gave me the energy I need to do the things I want. But you're saying the food I eat affects my body and the organs within my body.
Absolutely.
And the running of my body in such a way that it can make me very well or very ill.
Yep, it's amazing. That's one of the reasons I got into doing what I'm doing, is I took one thing out of my middle daughter's diet and it completely changed her health. And so I'm like, if one thing can change somebody's health, what else can change it? What other foods can either make you well or not? So I started doing research on my own until I discovered a program that I could go to school, back to school, and learn it. This is not my degree. Originally, I'm a marketer. That's what I was doing. But I was so impacted by how food affects us that I'd completely changed my career for it. It's amazing what one change will do. Eating the processed breads. They put an excessive amount of bromine in it. Bromine is actually detrimental to your thyroid if you can't detox it out of your system. Your body needs bromine, but in tiny little increments, not this massive amount that we are on a daily basis putting in our body. So that could be an underlying cause of your thyroid issue. Because what bromine does is it knocks out iodine. It knocks out the iodine. And so, see, I do know what I'm talking about.
I do.
It knocks out the iodine. And so every cell needs iodine. We need the iodine to produce thyroid functions. So when it's knocked out and you're replacing it with something that's not so good, your body's going to react very poorly. And sometimes people don't even realize it could be just one little change that can completely change their health.
So we're talking here, and we're getting quite specific into the detail of the things that we put into our body can have such a great or detrimental effect to our well-being and our health.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that obesity is so commonplace that along with obesity, heart disease and type 2 diabetes are also so commonplace that we've almost normalized it, and we've kind of taken a blind eye to the severity of the health issues that they really are.
Yep.
Why is it, do you think, that we do that? Why is it that we're stepping away from the responsibility of our own health and well-being, and we're normalizing something so very abnormal?
Boy, I wish I had the answer, but I think the reason I don't have the answer is it's so complicated.
Yeah.
You have to take into account the changes in our environment over the last 50 years, the stress levels in our lives, sleep patterns, just the food industry itself with the fast food and processed foods ready-made for us. Those are the convenience that go along with our busy lifestyle. And then you add into that the convenient foods that have been made are the addictive ones. So you've got addiction there. And I can go on and on. It's just so many things. And so it's interesting that there's been a whole new industry that has been developed in the last 40 years to go with that to cure it, right? And so products are being sold and commercials are being given, books are being written, and we haven't solved it yet with all those billions of dollars being thrown into this and being made, by the way.
I was going to say that that's a big player in it right
made.
there.
Yeah, there's lots of money there.
There's more money being made in just normalizing it and managing it versus actually curing